Yeah, behind you.
Hi.
Hey.
I was just going I was just wondering if it would be maybe possible to see a slightly different lighting setup in here. Because I think for a lot of us, it's really interesting to see the camera's capabilities within this more kind of conventional studio kind of lighting setup. But perhaps it would be nice to see something a bit more expressionistic, maybe something a bit closer to your visual style.
Cool.
It'd be nice to see how the camera deals with different kind of texture or tone.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, cool, let's do it. Might take a second, but if you'd be patient, we can definitely do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Let's find I kind of want to get back to, let's kind of come into like a medium close at this character for a second. So come in, yeah. And I think maybe just come right here, actually. We're going to bring her in the background. I think I'm just going to this is how I think about stuff sometimes and when I'm just making things up. So, because your question is about sort of trying to bring some boldness back into some of these imagery, into the imagery, I'm just going to try to imagine like a bit more of a neon sensibility for a second and bring some different color temperatures and some boldness back into some of these things. So, yeah, that's fine. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm just going to bring the sky panel closer. I'm going to start by going to like, I think 6,000 Kelvin, just to kind of start with almost like an odd Kelvin temperature that's not a standard version. And I think what I'd like to do with our camera is also go to like 4,300 Kelvin. This is I don't know, this is getting weird, but I want to bring the focus to him. And I want to, I can't tell, yeah, come back a little bit, you're right, yeah. And come onto the top, floor. And Bernhard, let's bring, oh, sorry. Before we do that, I just want to see our white balance change. Have we done that yet?
Oh, I haven't changed to 4,300.
Let's go to 4,300 Kelvin on the white balance.
Should we reduce it a bit?
Let's turn this one off completely. That's 4,300? Okay, let's go to 5,000 Kelvin. It seemed less than I wanted to. Let's just do a different idea. Let's go down to like 2,800 on the white balance on the camera. And can we turn off the top lights for a second?
Both of them?
Both of them?
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know, first thing I do usually is just turn one light on and try to find a color that I really, respond to. Not quite found it yet. I think what I want to do is add some green. So can I go into the menu and actually add green to the, 2,800 plus 2? The other way is magenta. Plus 2. That's getting interesting. Can we double break that? Can we make that softer? Mm-hmm. Thanks. I don't know, what I like about this so far anyway is the temperature of the practicals behind being quite warm still, and the separation that gives us with the foreground. I'm gonna wait till this double break is in and then probably dim down on the sky panel because it's a bit hot. Can we try even lower? Can we go to 2,200 Kelvin on the camera? 22. Once that double break is in, can we bring up, Bernhard, this furthest softbox back on at 3,200 Kelvin at like 10%? What I'm going to do here is just try to find a way to mix some things. So we have this practical warmth in the background. And what I like to sort of see, just because I think right now, for example, in my mind, what I'm thinking about as I'm doing this is, I find it to be a little stylistic and not, it's funny, he talked about with Barry and I guess, more specifically with Moonlight, while it being somewhat stylized, and I guess I can admit that at times it is, there's always something about it that I think is a bit of a root where it's not like it's some sort of, like, was that TV Netflix show Carbon something? Yeah, which is beautiful, but like, that's a science fiction movie. And the work that I do in Moonlight, it's a good example of it. It's like, it's not science fiction, So there has to be something that roots it back into reality while we're doing some wild choices with color. I'm trying right now, once this is, so let's bring it even warmer, please. I'm sorry, not warmer, but I apologize, but more of it. So like 20% or maybe 30 or 40. Looking to find a way to still bring in some of that warmth from the background that I'm seeing and try to find a way to bring it into his shoulder and maybe even mix it with his face if I'm lucky. So let's go to 40%.
40, 40, please. There you go.
Can we go all the way up? 100.
100. Full. Boom.
Okay. I feel like maybe we went too far with the white balance. Can we go to like back to 28? Yeah. Something happened there. Oh, there we go. That's better, right? Who thinks that's better? I think that's better. So what I like about this now, we sort of, I guess this, as you can sort of see, this has been my process, and this is sort of very much how I'm working on the set with Barry. Like, it was just a little too much, but just going from 22 to 28, I feel like now that warmth is brought back. Yes, you're still seeing some style to that, to the image with the blue and the green, but we now found a way back into some root of realism. And maybe realism is not the right word, but something that can kind of find its way back to where I can believe the moment. You know, I think oftentimes I talk about things in a way where like, these aren't real, this isn't realism, but there's truth. I think those are two different things. There's real and there's true. And, you know, I think truth is something I'm looking for sometimes to where I can believe the moment. And now I feel like one step back from the crazy thing I had at 2200 Kelvin, 28 sort of feels a bit more appropriate. Anyway, let's double, can we bring, I'd like to make it even softer. Can we bring that silk closer, please? And then can we dim that unit down maybe 20% from what it is? Okay. I guess, you know, we'll stop there. I mean, that's sort of, as maybe you sort of witnessed a little bit of what my brain is working like and how I'm making choices. That's an average day for me. That's sort of like how I think about it. That's too kind. I mean, yeah. Any case, any more chats we could talk about? Anybody, any more questions?
I got a question. So you decided to change the color balance of the camera,
Yeah.
rather than change the color balance of one light. Why would you do the camera versus just one light or multiple lights?
So usually in some scenarios, there's some constant. In this scenario, it was the practicals hanging on the wall. And for me, that was the constant. I mean, maybe in a different set, we could change everything. In this set, this was the constant. So for me, I wanted a certain temperature of this light, of the practicals, and I sort of found that eventually after a few missteps. And that became why I needed to go to 28. And then, you know, I could have, yeah, it's interesting, I could have done the green shift in the HMI. I chose not to, in a weird way, maybe because, it's funny, I mean, I'm reverse engineering my brain right now because I just made the choice on the fly, but if I'm thinking about it more, it's probably because I wanted a little green shift in the warm practicals too. It's something about that I thought was like too clean otherwise, you know? For me, I think because I'm always looking to affect something. I think probably as the conversation's going, you guys probably can tell, I react to things a bit emotionally and a bit more like, not in my brain, but somewhere down in here somewhere. And I feel like while I shift the white balance in the camera quite a lot from one spectrum to the other, I can, just looking at a monitor or an eyepiece, it sort of does something to me a little bit. And so I quite like that. To me, that's very inspiring and something that I feel like I make a great deal of choices from. And because of that, and because of the, you know, it just, I don't know, it just helps me sort of start somewhere. And I never liked it. It's starting from clean just makes me like kind of, I don't know, not very excited, to be honest.
Yeah, I had a question, but if he said there's no time left, I don't think we're going to do it. I was just curious. We have pretty much like a low-key kind of scene here. I was curious, a low-key, you know, like a dark scene. I was curious, will it be possible to like use the scenographer we have, but to make like a high-key, you know, as bright as possible to see how the camera works there, but most importantly to see you work.
Just to sort of see like a different contrast ratio.
Yeah, just the opposite. Make it as bright as possible.
Sure.
If there's time. If
There
it's
is. Yeah. How about we do this? Let's bring this one around, we'll just maybe put this here, this sky panel, and make it more warm. We'll do like a 3200 Kelvin. This one goes here, and so we'll do a mixed light. Let's also bring all the values for the time being back up to like 80% on all of these two, and maybe even the other one as well. And then while that's all happening, let's have another question, and we can chat while they're doing the work, and we can do two things at once.
So we're kind of watching it happen now, which is really cool. But I was going to ask you about your relationship with your gaffer, and it seems like every DP I speak to has a different type of relationship with their gaffer.
Yeah.
Like some are more technically minded, some are more, I guess, emotionally minded. And I guess, how do you approach that relationship? Do you say, I want a sky panel here with this diffusion and like, shape like that? Or sometimes you just say, I kind of want it a bit softer and a bit darker. Or...
Yeah, it's always funny to judge oneself. I think of myself as someone who is a mix, because I do tend to be rather specific about units occasionally. I'll ask for an S30, an S60, S360, and I'll go through, knowing what I believe to be what exposure I need in which place. Once I'm there, though, once I have those units in place, maybe I tend to sort of give certain aspects of the decision making, if it's like choosing whether between it's like quarter grid or half grid, or whether it's silk or 250. I do tend to leave some choices, into the discussion of like, is it just softer or less soft or whatever things, to get into like the minutia. I tend to sort of start to react a bit more emotionally. So I think of myself as someone who's like a bit of a hybrid in that regard. I don't know as much as Bernhard does. I don't know as much as my gaffer does about some more specific lighting stuff, and I definitely want to as well to give them that space too, to start to make creative choices within their departmental sort of processes. So I think of myself as somewhat of a mix between rather technical and maybe less technical.
Thanks.
Did we get the high key thing for you? It's interesting. Do you want, let's hi, Bernhard, where are we on the dials now? Are we at 80? Can we go to 100? And let's stop down a little bit. I'm curious if just to show people like maybe the LF not at wide open for the time being. I think we've been at 1.8 or 1.4 almost the whole time. Let's go down to like a 2.8 for a second. Let's go down to a 4. Yeah, let's go to 800 ISO for a second and stop down another stop. Go to a 5.6. And go to an 8. It's kind of cool. Is that helpful? I mean, I'm sure that's helpful to sort of see the stop changes as well for everybody, right? Like, yeah, leave it at the 8 for a second. Go to a 11. I mean, I know it's getting underexposed, but I just wanted to show everybody just what the optics look like as they stop down. How about 16? Go to, just crank up the ISO to like 1200 for a second. Yeah. Let's close, okay, so let's close down to like a 11. Now you guys can sort of hopefully see a bit more of it. How about a 16? I know we're getting dark. And what ISO are we at now? Let's go to 16. And let's go to a T8. Cool. Any other questions? Sorry, I should say it one more time. Otherwise, oh, yeah, one more. Let's do one more question, then we'll say bye to each other.
Hello.
Hi.
I just have a simple question. If you're using a light meter on your sets,
Yeah.
okay, that's it.
Oh, I do. No. No, I do, and I'll just say one thing about it. Like, to me, of course, we have these monitors. They're all calibrated. They're all very nice, and they're all very sharp, and things like this. I can't always rely on this sometimes. I have to move sometimes very quickly. What I use the light meter for more now than just for exposure is remembering ratios. So if I'm, in a lighting setup with a close-up and I need a reverse shot, and I want maybe to match the ratio just for consistency. I mean, maybe I don't sometimes, but maybe let's say I do. I'll remember my ratio from a meter perspective, and on the turnaround, even if the camera's not ready yet, I can already set my lights and kind of be ahead of the game. So I still carry a meter with me, and I still use it quite a lot. It just maybe is changed in terms of how I use it than before. Yeah. Cool.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, hi.
I've read on internet that you're recording Moonlight and ProRes
Yeah.
instead of Roast. And
Yeah.
what's about new movie? And in general, can you?
Why did I do that?
Yeah. And what about new movie?
So the new movie is in RAW. So we did that 65 RAW. Moonlight we did ProRes. You know, it's a luxury to think to shoot RAW when you're doing small movies. I mean, with Moonlight, it just wasn't an option for us, to be honest with you, for a variety of reasons. But also, too, like the specificity we would have gained with RAW on Moonlight probably would have been lost within all of the shooting wide open, for example, the different ways in which we were making that film aesthetically. I don't think would have benefited a great deal from going from ProRes to RAW. I think we would have had the same image, but with a lot more data that would have been necessary. But with Beale Street, there's a lot more sensitivity and a lot more specificity to the language, and so that's why I think RAW made sense for Beale Street, but less so for Moonlight. Yeah.
I think we can give a big hand to James Laxton for that message.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks again. I hope you had a good time. I mean, it was a very open conversation and a very sort of simple one, but hopefully there was something that we all sort of learned from today. So I appreciate it again, ARRI, for bringing me on. Thanks everybody for coming. Enjoy Camera Maj. Have a good time. Enjoy.